Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot, but the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Please don't ask why, no one quite knows the reason. It could be perhaps that his shoes were too tight. It could be that his head wasn't screwed on just right. But I think that the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. Whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve, hating the Who's, staring down from his cave with a sour, Grinchy frown at the warm, lighted windows below in their town. For he knew down below in Whoville beneath, every Who was busy hanging a holly Who wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas. It's practically here. And the Grinch stood with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming. I must find some way to keep Christmas from coming. For he knew on the morrow all those Who girls and boys would wake bright and early and they'd race for their toys. And all the noise. The noise. They'd shriek squeaks and squeals racing round on their wheels. They'd dance with jing-tinglers tied onto their heels. They'd play noisy games like Zuzita Kaze, a roller skate type of lacrosse and croquet. Beat their trumtukas. They'll slam their slunkers. They'll beat their gardinkas. They'll wham their Who-wunkas. And then they'll make ear-splitting noises deluxe on their great big electro-Who-cardio flux. Then the Who's, young and old, will sit down to a feast. And they'll feast, and they'll feast, and they'll feast. They'll feast on Who pudding. Rare Who roast beast. Raw roast beast is a feast I can't stand in the least. I must find some way to keep Christmas from coming, but how? Then the Grinch got an idea. An awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. I know just what to do, the Grinch laughed in his throat. I'll make a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat. He chuckled and clucked. What a great Grinchy trick. With this coat and this hat, I'll look just like Saint Nick. All I need is a reindeer. The Grinch looked around, but since reindeer is scarce, there was none to be found. Did that stop the Grinch? The Grinch simply said, if I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. So he took his dog Max, and he took some black thread, and he tied a big horn on the top of his head. Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh, and he whistled for Max. All their windows were dark. No one knew he was there. When he came to the first little house on the square. This is stop number 1, the old Grinchy Claus hissed as he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fist. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch, but if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once for a minute or two. But when he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue where the little Who stockings hung all in a row, these stockings, he Grinched, are the first things to go. Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant. Around the whole room, he took every present. Checkerboards, pantulas, pampukas, and drums. Checkerboards, bisselbings, popcorn, and plums.
What?
He took all of the toys, and the Grinch very nimbly stuffed all the bags one by one up the chimney. Then he slunk to the icebox. He took the Who's feast. He took the Who pudding. He took the roast beast. He cleaned out the icebox as quick as a flash. That Grinch even took the last can of Who hash. He stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee. Now, grinned the Grinch, I'll stuff up the tree.
That fucking
As As the Grinch took the tree, as he started to shove, he heard the small sound like the coo of a dove. He turned around fast and saw a small who. Little Cindy Lou Who was no more than 2. She stared at the Grinch. Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why? But you know, that old Grinch was so smart and so slick, he thought up a lie and he thought it up quick. Why, my sweet little tot, the fake Santa Claus lied. There's a light on this tree that won't light on one side. I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, and I'll bring it back here. And his fib fooled the child. Then he got her a drink, and he patted her head and sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who was in bed with her cup, he crept to the chimney and stuffed the tree up. Then he went up the chimney himself, the old liar. And the last thing he took was the log for their fire. On their walls, he left nothing but hooks and some wire. And the last speck of food he left in the house was a crumb too small for even a mouse. Then he did the same thing at the other Who's houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the other Who's mouses.
I do not like this.
It was 1/4 to dawn. All the Who's still abed, all the Who's still a snooze. When he packed up his sled, he packed it up with their ribbons, their wrappings, their snoof and their fossils, their tringlers and trappings. And 10,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his load to the tip-top to dump it.
This is amazing.
Pooh-pooh to the Who's, he was grinchily humming. They're finding out now, no, Christmas is coming. They're just waking up. I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open for a minute or two. Then every Who down in Whoville will all cry, boo! That, grinned the Grinch, is a noise I simply must hear. And the Grinch paused, and he put a hand to his ear. And he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, then it started to grow. But that sound wasn't sad. That sound sounded glad. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons.
It came without tags.
It came without packages, boxes, and bags.
Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas doesn't come from a store. Maybe, perhaps, Christmas is a little bit more. And what happened then? Well, in Whoville, they say, the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And now that his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light. With a smile in his soul, he descended Mount Crumpet, cheerfully blowing hoo-hoo on his trumpet. He brought everything back. He brought back their toys. He brought back the fruit for the Who girls and boys. He brought back their trinkles and their trappings, their snoof and their fossils. He brought everything back, all the food for the feast. And he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beast. Welcome, Christmas. Bring your cheer. Cheer to all Who's far and near. Christmas Day is in our grasp. So long as we have hands to clasp, Christmas Day will always be just as long as we have we.
That was fantastic.